Hey everybody, this is Dr. Craig with AI, and I'm here this morning with Hannah. Good to see you, Hannah.
Good to see you, Dr. Hansen.
Looking forward to learning from you. How about you share some of your background?
Yeah, no, happy to share. Thank you so much for having me on. So yeah, I was just looking up, I'm a millennial. So, and but to put it in context for your students, like, I've been around for a while, been out of uni for a bit. And I found myself, despite my best intentions being a political science major, I found myself in corporate sales for the last 18 years or so. And I've worked my way through, selling software systems to even participating in mergers and acquisitions for billion-dollar plus orgs here in the United States.
Mm,
And I just recently transitioned. Now that I think the big thing right now, at least in the States, I'm not sure if it is where you guys are, but is fractional or more flexible work environments where people are working for
yes.
themselves, solar entrepreneurship. And that's where I found myself today. I started my own business. It's called Up and Over Advisors, and I offer fractional sales advisory. So I'm taking my career tenured sales professionalism, where have been an individual contributor, contributing millions of dollars to the bottom line for these corporations, and also leading teams, being a people manager, leading teams that are also selling, to doing it on my own. And a
Mm,
big reason why that's so possible, I think, for so many folks today is because of AI. AI makes it so accessible for you to start up and launch your own business. I mean, I think of things as simple as that's been around for a little while, but like Squarespace, and where you can create a website in seconds, right?
right.
You can pick a template and build a website, and then you can use ChatGPT, right, or other generative AI products to basically write all of your content, right? To go out, and now that it's interactive, it's multimodal, right? So it's not just working on its own, but it interacts with the web, or it can interact with other interfaces. It can be super powerful. So something that would have caught not only accessibility as far as my expertise or what I'm doing, but financially, right? Which is where it gets interesting. I have a 9-year-old son, and I'm curious what his path will look like from a career or educational perspective. But there's so many different tools now that can help you leapfrog traditional services or other professionals that you may have otherwise leaned on, and you can just do it yourself, right? Through these
Mm,
tools that are either free. I mean, I use a lot of free editions of or versions of these technologies, or super affordable, right?
yeah,
Not
that's really
even,
interesting.
basically a rounding error. Yeah.
Mm. So you're using Squarespace, I think you said, for doing the website using ChatGPT to develop content for your website, I guess for your service as well. What other applications do you find right now for your business?
Oh my goodness. So a lot of the work I do is contractual, right? So either I'm creating my own papers for contractual agreements, or I'm signing another company's contractual agreement. So I'll give you a key example where I started to play around with this, and not that I'm suggesting that a ChatGPT can be your lawyer, right? You want to vet that through proper channels, but even just reviewing a highly technical legal document, right? I was working contractually for a company based out of Hong Kong. And when they sent me their contract at first, I'm like, I don't know if signing this is in my best interest. I want to rewrite it. So, for instance, the legal domain, if there was ever any instance where there was any trouble, that I wouldn't be prosecuted under Hong Kong law, right? In Hong Kong courts. I want to rewrite it so that where I live in the state of Oregon in the United States, that the laws were applicable there, right? And that's the first time that I really asked ChatGPT, because I bought the paid version where you could upload a document and you could say, read this, right? Analyze it, go out there. You're the best employment lawyer in the world. You represent me. I'm the contractor. Suggest red lines to this document. That is transformative. I mean, so in a couple of seconds, I was able to renegotiate a legal contract, right, for employment, contractual employment,
Mm,
within seconds at a cost that was effectively zero. When before, not even that long ago, that would have been a couple weeks, right? I would have to find an employment lawyer. I had to pay for their time, probably cost me a couple $1,000s, right? Potentially.
Mm.
And I might not even get that deal, right? Because I'm working for the fractionally. So that to me was really, really empowering and showed really how reliable, and you can interact with it. It becomes kind of like your in office assistant, right? And now that it has memory, it can recall back, so I don't have to tell it every time who I am or what I do, right?
Mm.
Which this is all changing so quickly. But that was like the first time that I started to use ChatGPT in particular in a way that was beyond content, right? Like help me write this LinkedIn post. I want it to be 250 characters, right? And I want to talk about this and I want bullet points and emojis, right? That's pretty simple. But that was the first time I was like, kind of like I'm leaning into this and I'm giving it maybe a little more trust or responsibility than I ever have before.
Mm. It's a bit of a game changer now that ChatGPT and other language models are remembering what we said before in our conversations
Yes.
before, so we can continue that on. And in a sense, we're training it on what we need.
Yes. Yes, we are. We know, and this is us doing that willingly, right? But I think there are some inherent risks. And of course, leading into the New York Times lawsuit and now all this
Mm.
information coming out that of course they used all this, trademark material to
Mm.
train these machines, right? And that's the difference between generative AI versus machine learning versus artificial general intelligence. This is all inputted information, right? And it got that from somewhere and it
Mm.
didn't pay for a lot of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Dr. Hansen, I also have a Tesla, right? And I know willingly, right, that all my driving habits, all my little clips, anytime I honk my horn or I stop short or whatever, I take it out of autopilot, all of that is fed into a machine, right?
Right. Yep.
Huge data centers, Dojo, whatever. And that does, but I do also benefit from it, right? So it's kind of interesting our relationship to companies and what we're
Mm.
willing to share is kind
Mm.
of slowly starting to break down, right?
Mm.
Because of that collective benefit that we're getting from it. But I am curious where we'll be in 2 to 5 years, right?
Mm.
We've basically given them everything. They know how much we weigh. They hear all of our conversations. They know all about our businesses and our aspirations. It could be medical histories, of course. I mean, now AI is being used, of course, right, for medical inventions. It's all fascinating, right? But man, once this ball has been started to be pushed, the snowball is coming and it's going to eat all of us up, right?
So Hannah, with that, the style of working that you have, just to go back to when I was doing my PhD, that I was speaking with executives and people that were working in the creative industries. So
Yeah,
working for Lucasfilm and Weta Workshop and people like
sure.
that. And so animators and movie makers, in a sense, work fractionally. They have small contracts, big contracts. They work part-time. They work around the world. They work virtually, and they work in lots of different ways. And so they might be working for 3 or 10 different people doing different
Hmm.
contracts in different ways. That's in essence, that's what you're doing, isn't it? Is it in your fractional role?
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Exactly that. So I can play all different roles, CRO, VP of sales light, right? Or play specific or perform certain tasks for a portfolio of small clients. And it is dramatically changed not only the way that I work but also has expanded my universe of knowledge, right? Because instead of working, the first
Right.
company I really worked for a good period of time was Expedia, right? I worked there for 8 years. Right? So I knew a lot about the travel agency and travel industry. But now, like I'm working in M&A, I'm working in different industries, I'm working with digital media companies, I'm learning stuff all the time. And
Mm.
that also is much more accessible. Like I just ran a search in ChatGPT. I'm likely to sign with this private equity client that wants to go out and use their resources to buy companies that are 10 million, $100 million enterprises, right? It's like, okay, well, so I asked ChatGPT, okay, this is kind of their criteria of their clients they want to go after. They want me to source for them. What tools should I use or be familiar with? What websites can help me find that? And this is a generative AI. This is a large language model, but
Mm.
it has so many people using it. It was able to provide me with a distinct list of things, of sources I should be aware of, technology I should be using in order to find clients for this private
Mm,
equity firm, right? So it really is becoming quickly not a single source of truth, but pretty close to it and highly reliable.
mm,
That makes things like that where I can now work and kind of be like a semi expert immediately. It's like, you know, I mean, the internet was powerful for that, but you can really fake it till you make it now, right? If you leverage it in a way that I think, kind of rides that border of being responsible and a little bit of a risk taker, right? Which is where I think for the middle class and for people like me, you need to take some risks, right? And it's kind of leveling the playing field for some of us to make bigger changes in our lives that before, oh no, there was way too much risk.
right. I'm just thinking about, you said middle class. So in New Zealand, I'm thinking about marginalized communities, schools that
Yes.
are in remote locations, communities where they may not have had access to professional services, equity, not just
Yes.
access to resources, but the opportunity to use them and move forward. Where do you see AI, generative AI, and what's happening now as being able to be an equity play for people and communities?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I think of most immediately, Dr. Hansen, I went to Cuba last year and they had just received the internet in the last 2 years, right? And it's very limited and you have to go to the public square to access it, right? But that's the thing with information, right? Information and education is the great equalizer,
Mm,
right? So I think that is the key is that if you have access to it, it's just a matter of being able to ask good questions, right? Which is always the top skill, but that you have kind of the universe there. You don't have to live in a big modern city where they have a good library, right? You just need a simple laptop or even your phone if you have internet service. And then I think of like, stuff like Starlink, which is making that more possible in rural
mm,
areas, right?
mm,
But I think to give another example of that, where I'm really trying to go with my business is I'm registered, pre-registered to be a B Corp, and I really want to work for triple bottom line companies that are as close to nonprofits as possibly can be, but certainly have an approach to people, profit, planet. And I think that by offering my services fractionally, instead of paying me an executive an exorbitant amount of money, right, to play that role, I can come in and be more prescription based and come in at a cost that's more of like a junior level rep, but you get that company benefits from a much greater experience, right? And I
mm,
think that also it helps to equalize and level up, right?
mm,
Which I think is also is really fascinating. It can be very, very powerful, right?
mm. Yeah, I think that people don't need to necessarily be an expert to have a conversation and when different opportunities come their way, but jumping into ChatGPT, jumping into Dante, uploading a few files and links to websites and asking it, telling it, you are the expert in this and
Yes,
you're a corporate trainer. So train me
yes,
on the
yes.
concepts and the understandings and how to do certain processes so that you can at least have a conversation and then people can have that door open to them. So I think that's part of the marginalization is people just can't speak the language of the opportunity, and this provides them that chance to do that.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things I like to ask ChatGPT is not only analyze this, but how would you phrase questions that could get to the heart
Mm,
of the issue? Like
mm,
even ask it, like, I don't know what the questions are. What should I be asking? What am I missing?
right.
Right.
That's
Which I
good.
think can be huge.
Yeah, that's good. Very good. Because we don't know what we don't know. I mean, I've been working for the last year, voluntarily working with a group of guys after hours, just how do we become the best guys we can be? And
Yeah.
some things have popped up for me that I realize I don't know what I don't know around leading good conversations with other men. And so I've gone and taken a
Mm,
course on that. But
mm,
actually, ChatGPT did help me identify what are some of the
mm.
skill sets and strategies and conversations and questioning that I can use with the guys to help them explore deeper some of the things that are in their way and some strategies
Yes,
for helping them see positive way forwards. And yeah, I've gone for further studies to do that now because now it's captured my attention. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's the opportunity that we have.
absolutely. Absolutely. I would say further, one of the things I'm really excited about now that ChatGPT has some sort of a memory, right? So I don't have to retrain it every time. It understands a lot about me based on just what I've asked of it. One thing I haven't tried yet, but I'm really excited to, is to ask it what are my biases based on my questions or the ways that I think or my drafts that I bring you that I ask you to analyze or review? Where are my consistent blind spots? What am I missing? Where is my unconscious bias? I think that could be pretty interesting, right?
I think that's really good. The blind spots and bias, and it certainly would be an objective truth teller, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. Yes, it
Wouldn't worry
would.
about hurting
Surely
your
would.
feelings.
It would not like your mother. No, yes.
Have you seen that movie, You Hurt My Feelings?
No. Mm-mm.
I think it has the lady that was in Seinfeld, the main character,
Oh,
female.
oh, oh yeah. Julie
Yeah, and her
Dreyfus.
husband
Yeah.
is a psychologist, and she hears him in a bookshop talking to a friend or a shoe shop about her latest book she's just written. He's saying it's awful, and he just didn't have the courage
Mm,
to tell her because he didn't want to hurt her feelings. But she heard him say it,
mm,
and
mm,
the opportunity to have unvarnished truth told to us
mm.
without too much regard for our feelings, but genuine concern for our success. I think technology can do that for us in ways that our dearest and closest can't do for us.
And we certainly can't do for ourselves. Yes.
No, that's right. Exactly. Look,
Yeah.
going forward, if people that are watching this video cast or listening to the podcast want to reach out to you and engage your services, what's the best way to do that, Hannah?
Sure. My website is just upandoveradvisors.com, and they can reach me at Hannah at upandoveradvisors.com.
Fantastic. And what would be some of the key areas that you could help them grow in their business and their enterprise?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to chat with people who are thinking about doing the same thing, right? Like, hey, I know I have skills. I know I have something to offer. Is there a market maybe for
Awesome.
me to go out on my own? Because just like you said, we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what we know that's valuable that other people don't know, right? We have an assumption that what I know is what everybody knows, and that's most commonly not the case, right? So how can you share? How can you build a brand, like that's such an important thing. How can you share more of who you are? How can you start your own
Mm,
business? Or if people are looking for or are curious about fractional sales services and how that might help them get them to where they want to be at a much different price point, I would love to have that conversation with them as well.
awesome. Hannah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hansen.